Okay, welcome to Toxic Parents, back in action. I hope everybody had a nice week or 2 or 3 away from it, however long it was since you last heard it. We're on page 54 today, at the very bottom. We were talking about Martin last week, and he was basically having problems with. He came to therapy and he said that his father was really hard on him, right? No matter how hard he tried, he felt like he was always doing something wrong. And that's many people have that and they don't realize it, you know? Actually, in our lives, many people had fathers who were either hard on them or just weren't there at all, you know? But you never felt you could be good enough. Sometimes that your dad was critical, you know? And that you just never could do anything right. And sometimes it just wasn't even there. So you're not getting any feedback at all. And he could physically not be there, or he could just be drunk, or working, or, you know what I mean, not in your life, not paying attention, and for some reason. Or he could have a health issue. He's depressed, so he's in his bed, you know. But there's some reason why he's not really connecting to you, and so he makes you feel like, you know, you can't do anything right to get his attention. And people go to all kinds of extent to get attention from their father, for sure. You know, for the man, it makes you feel like you're a man. That's how you know what a man is, right? By watching your father. And whatever he does, that's what you're going to think is a man. Even if he's totally not being a man, like if he's at home unemployed or something, you know, and he's not providing for the family, you're still going to be like, oh, that's a man, you know? That's what I should be like. And if you're a woman, that's your first love. Your father's your first love. So how he treats you, if he makes you feel like you don't exist, guess how you're going to feel? You're going to be walking around feeling like you don't exist. You know, if he makes you feel like you're very special, then you're going to walk around with more self-esteem, thinking I'm special, and you won't put up with a man who makes you feel like you don't exist. So it just depends on, you know, how he is, but it makes a very deep impact, and many times you feel like you're not good enough for some reason or another. You know, so that was Martin's case. And at the bottom of this very end of 54, the last sentence there, it says, Martin was constantly having to jump through hoops to prove himself. He had real evidence of achievement. His profits, but that evidence paled beside his father's disapproval. I suggested to Martin that his father might feel threatened by Martin's success. His father's ego seemed to be tied up with having built this business, but now his achievement was being overshadowed by his son's. We talked about that last week too, right? I asked Martin if during these episodes he was in touch with any feelings other than his understandable anger. You bet I am. I'm really ashamed to tell you this, but every time he walks into the office, I feel like I'm 2 years old. I can't even answer questions right. I start to stammer, apologize, and feel scared. He looks so powerful, even though I'm as big as he is physically, but that I feel about half his size. He has this cold look in his eyes and a critical tone in his voice. Why can't he treat me like an adult? So what do you guys think from Vedic psychology point of view? What's going on? From a Vedic psychology lens, why does his father look twice his size when he's bigger than his father? How would you analyze that? Vilas or Jaya? Are there some mics laying around? Okay. Ladies first.
His father big, so this is the samskara that he sees his father.
Very good. Can you say it, because the mic wasn't working? Can you say it one more time?
So when he was a child, then he was small and he saw his father very big. So now, even though he's bigger than his father, but he still has the same samskara that the father is bigger.
Very good. That's so powerful. That's the power of samskara. So whatever got made in those first 7 years, and most of us by 7 were smaller than our father, right? So he's still seeing his father, and he's noticing how critical, the look in the father's eye and all that. So that's the power of the samskara. Very rarely do we see things crystal clear as they are, right? So he's seeing through the lens of dad, you know, big dad, angry dad, you know, still. Very good, Jaya. Did you want to add something to it, Vilas? No. Any other, Mohini, were you going to say something? Same?
I have not thought.
Oh, okay. I thought you were looking back. Okay, so that's very helpful to see why, you know, this is a very clear case of how we're not seeing things clearly. But oftentimes we don't realize it, but it's happening in our life, how we perceive certain people. Vilas?
When Martin says that, why can't he treat me like an adult, I was wondering, whether maybe the father actually treats him like an adult, but his perception is
Could be.
that so different because of his samskara, where inside the samskara he's still the small child.
Yeah.
Probably the father actually treats him like someone who's very, very junior. Probably, I would guess.
Yeah.
But I think it would be also possible that he's not doing, but still he has the feeling that he does.
Yes, that's a very good insight. So if the father may be treating him like he's a little boy, like he's his little boy, or he may be treating him like an adult, but he's feeling like you're treating me like a little boy. And what's interesting is because they have that dynamic of the father really talking down to him as a kid, you know, he's still going to act like a little boy. Actually, that's the other thing. Like if he's not going to act like a little boy, and his father's like treating him like a little boy, he'd say, "Excuse me, I'm a full-grown man. Like, don't talk to me like that." But he's like, "Why is he? I'm scared." And so he's acting like the little boy. So he's going to get treated like a little boy, even if the father wasn't originally doing that. If he's acting like, "Oh my God," and the father can pick up on that. The father can see he's scared, and he's looking at him like that, and he doesn't know what to say, and he freezes up. So if you act like that, you're going to get treated like that. Even by other people who are not your father, which is interesting. You know? Other people will treat you like that too. So the samskaras, you know, those are our programs that we're running on all the time. And it's so fun to analyze it in a book because then it's not so sensitive. Then it's not so, you know, hard to see. But then you can think in your life, anytime when you're struggling with something, you have to just go, okay, there's some samskara there. What is troubling me? Because it's easy maybe even to see the other person's, but your own. Like what must be troubling me to make me be seeing it in this way that's so painful? Because if you're out beyond the samskara, it's not going to. If you're in this sattvic mode and you're clear and you're swasta and you're situated in yourself, it's not going to be that upsetting as it would be. So as soon as you start having this strong reaction, it's like samskara land. Let's go back to the first 7 years and find what that was. Were you going to say something?
I wanted to ask, so might it be that it might depend on character? Because sometimes we see that people who acquire this power stand, so very often other people, they feel smaller and they are made to feel smaller. So not necessarily father, probably family relations, but might be anywhere. Like, can we extend to in different contexts?
So you're saying, can you be real short with the question? What is it?
So it might depend on a character. So why this boy is afraid? If he had a stronger, inborn character, maybe he wouldn't crouch in front of his father. So it depends on the character that you.
But what is the character made out of?
There's
only 4 choices: manas, which are fleeting feelings. Ahankara,
so maybe
which is your sense of I. Mm-hmm. Buddhi, which is your intelligence, and then samskaras, which are the programs that run your personality. So character is your samskaras.
But we also, samskaras, but then we bring them, not only in childhood, they form, right? We also bring them from our previous lives.
Yeah, those are vasanas and they're your latent tendencies, but the samskaras are the main thing that show up here now. They're going to give you your tendencies, but then how you are, those first 7 years of life is what really makes you react like that now. In other words, you could have been born scared from something that happened with an abusive father in the last life. But this life, if you come and you get really nice parents, that will go down in those first 7 years. And then you'll be made, but usually that's not what happens, So the reactions we're having now is really those first 7 years. It's almost like programming the software. It's not that, but those vasanas are true, but our character could be like your swabhava, what you like to do,
So you mean the first years are very important. They might improve the situation, what you come with, or might worsen the situation, right? Okay, yeah. I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Vilas?
Okay. Jainanda?
Jana?
No.
Oh.
It is Janana.
Oh, Janana.
Can you guys see?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, there's someone I know named Janelle, and I'm like, Janelle? Okay. Janana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Janana. Yeah. So this is tied to obviously what you're reading right now, and actually in the last session, I wanted to ask. We didn't get to it. You had mentioned how we react to the Father in this case, in understanding the limitation of the Father, to accept the Son for who he is. It would be best for the Son to just appease to the Father's need of being seen, and then we stopped there. And to me, I'm on this quest of truth, and your teachings are amazing, by the way. They've been so awakening, so I'm looking for true feedback. To me, I'm battling this situation of, well, isn't it better to call out the truth instead of people-pleasing and trying to protect the other person from what's actually going on?
Could be. That's a good question, and it's a very common question. I mean, probably half the people in this room have asked me that at least, right? So it's so frustrating when there's somebody who's misbehaving, and it's like somebody who is close to you, and you just want to be like, you're misbehaving, like and tell them off, right? That you can do that if you don't want to have a relationship with them, or if you want to have a horrible relationship. But if you want to actually have a relation, in other words, just say that this guy was like, my dad sucks, I don't want to work for him anymore, I want nothing to do with him, and I never want to talk to him again. Some people choose that. If it's too toxic, if it's too abusive, some people do choose that. And if you choose that, then tell him off. It's not that he's going to change, but at least you can feel, I vented it out, I got it out. But the reaction is not what we expect. We expect they're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you're right, let me change my ways. That's not how it goes. Because everybody has an ahankara, and ahankara is hypersensitive. Even if you look that way a little, it's like, why are you looking at me? So forget about telling them what they're doing that's wrong, you know. So, but I'm not saying you should hurt yourself or be people-pleasing. I'm saying you have to decide what you want. And once you can accept people for how they are and go, okay, he's like that. Am I going to try to be validated by him anymore? No. Am I going to open my heart to him so he can stamp on it again? No. But is he my father and I need to keep the job? Yes. So I'm going to appease him, not because that's what I feel from the core of my being. It's because I'm trying to outsmart him, basically, so I can keep my job and keep the relation. Because sometimes if it's a family member, then you lose other relations too. They're like, you're not talking to dad anymore? And then they start harassing you. You should be talking to dad. Come on, let's try to get together. So it's tricky. That's why it's like a case-by-case basis. You have to decide what you want first. And if you want them to change...
Sorry, does it have to be telling off? Like, I just feel like if you really want the true relation, and you really want to be in that sattva space of actually being honest, is it just about accepting someone for who they are without ever attempting to try to see from both ends? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and that's what I'm saying. It's a very common question. You're just asking it in another way now. So that no problem, but basically, the only true relationship actually is the one with yourself. And that's what Vedic psychology is all about. Then all relations become completely easy because you don't try to get the person to change. So until then, we're not really comfortable. As long as we're not comfortable with ourselves, it's like, can you sit like that way? Because when you sit that way, my ear hurts. And can you jump up and down because it makes me smile? Oh, and can you serve me tea? And can you scratch my back? And don't move like that. Can you get on your knees? And you over there on the ceiling. Oh, then I'll feel happy. That's how it sounds when you're asking, can we talk it out? That's how it sounds to me because I've been doing it for so many years. I've thousands of hours sat with people. It doesn't work. You can try. And you may get them to make a little bit of a move, a little bit in that direction, but they're never going to become who you want. And even if they do, even if you have a very good, very wonderful conversation and they do change, then what are you going to do with the next person? Talk it out with them? It's very rare. And it's a waste of time because the reason why you want to talk it out is because they're not seeing you or they're not validating you or they're not doing something you need to feel good. It's a whole lot easier to just feed yourself. And that's nurturing the inner child. That's why we harp on that point so much. Whatever it is that your parents didn't give you, it's going to project out on other people in your adult life. And you have to figure out what that thing is you didn't get instead of how I can have that conversation with that person to change so I can feel happy. So that's the punchline. Many times people want to give it a try, so give it a try and see how far you can get. And then whatever's left, maybe you get 80% of the way, that's wonderful. The other 20%, you got to go to your inner child. Because it's very exhausting to go around and be like, you made me feel like that, so can you not do that? And you made me feel like that, can you not? Because they're going to come back and go, really? You want me to change? Here's what you did. You did this, this, and this, and this, and this. So talking it out, oftentimes, right? It doesn't go so great. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm just saying if I could play back all the files of the couples therapy I've done and all the other types of therapy, you'll see. We even did a group here where all the group members, right, 10 group members, they would meet with each other and tell them their gripe. How many people really changed? How many people went, oh, I'm really like that. I need to be less rigid. I think you practice communicating. That's what happens. And then you feel hurt by the other person, basically, because you remember the painful thing they said. And those kind of things you never forget. If someone said something painful about your character, how you look, what you did, and if they're seeing it the wrong way, we're going to try to change their mind, but we haven't changed our own. We have this like rigid mindset. It has to be like that. You're hurting me like that. So now you do it like this, and then I'm going to be happy. So that's what to me it sounds like when you want to talk something out. The real person to talk it out with is your therapist. And then you can just dump it out. I'm so angry at that person, this, and this. And then they'll hear you. If you have one who knows how to do inner child work, they'll help you nurture an inner child so you feel pacified. And once that's done, you don't have such a need to go talk it out with a full-grown adult, because your inner child's the one who wants to talk it out. That's the inner child who's like, see me, hear me, don't do that to me, and do this to me, and I need more time, or whatever the thing is. Soon we're going to have this inner child camp. I haven't been able to prepare it yet because I've been sick, but once I get better, I'll present to you what we're going to do, and it'll be like a monthly workshop. Because I'm talking about it, but it's very elusive. It's very hard to understand what I'm talking about. The inner child work, even if you've done it or read about it, but the way that I do it and all that, it's different. So then you'll see what I mean when I'm talking about what's happening with the inner child and how it's driving you to say, let's talk it out, or I don't want to fight with them, I just want to say my point. It's like, and what do you think they want to say back? Their point, That's why actually, interestingly, I used to work for hospice with people who are dying, and it was such an interesting job because when people are very near the end, finally they're so weak that their ahankara goes down, Finally, when there's like 1 day left or whatever, 1 week left, when they definitely know this is it, then they say, call my daughter, I want to say I'm sorry. I haven't talked to her in 30 years. It's like, it's only the ahankara. Because when you're dying, you're not eating, you're wasting away, you're feeling weak, and then you say, oh, I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. It's just the ahankara. It's my way, because I've got this mind body that doesn't feel good around you, so now you change and I feel good. What do you guys think? The whole mood is like, oh, darn. You want to say?
Thank you, by the way. Then
Yeah. Yes. Good questions. Jayaji? We can't get people to change, but we should get the mics. The mics should be able to act the way we want.
Yes, this talking it out is possible only when two people are very mature.
Yes.
And have solved most of their own issues.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's very...
Yeah.
And somebody told me also that he was abused physically and mentally by his mother. So he went to her and tried to talk it out with her, with his mother. And she just refused. She said, get lost.
Yeah.
And so I felt, oh my God, better you solve your own problem. Because so what you're saying is right.
Yeah. It's true. If two people are mature, meaning they at least at the minimum have nurtured the inner child and know how to do it. They're very skillful at that. Then they can have a conversation and say, when you did that, that hurt me. I'm taking care of it, but is there some way we could get a compromise? Something non-emotionally, really strong. But oftentimes we're hurt and we want to go tell the person, like hold them accountable, basically, right? You did this to me. That really hurt. What can we do about that? And I promise you they're going to say, well, you did this to me. And then where are you going to go? I mean, you can go back and forth, but even when I'm running these sessions, you know, that's how it goes. Okay, you listen to this. That's why I won't do a couples therapy where they both get to talk. It's like I will do couples therapy with the husband, for example. Well, he gets 1 hour, the whole hour speaking to the wife, and the wife has to listen and take notes. Because I used to do couples therapy with them both talking, and it was just, I don't want to referee a screaming match. I was like saying, why am I even here? I'm the therapist, you're not even listening to me. I'm like, stop, you know. So now I just say, okay, only one person, 1 hour. Then we meet again, and then the wife can speak for 1 hour, her point, and the husband has to take notes. So they can hear each other, but do they really change? Maybe they can try to understand each other to some extent. I'm not saying it's that desolate that there's no chance. A little bit, they can have some empathy, you know, but oftentimes what happens is more about acceptance. Just trying to understand, okay, he's having a hard time and he's not trying to ignore me or whatever. Something like that. If you can get a little understanding, but that would be the best I've seen for a change. So you understand the other person better through talking. And then you can have empathy and you can change yourself and lower the expectations for that person, you know. Jonathan?
Yes, I agree with what Jaya was saying because I have the experience of doing it. And it feels, at first it feels very good because you feel relieved.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I said everything that I wanted. But then I don't have the maturity to know that the person was not ready to hear that. And obviously, if I were him or her, I would have be defensive right away.
Yeah.
So then it's after it a game of ping pong, you know, it's like one say, yeah, well, you did that. Yeah, I did that because you did that. And there's literally no point. Yeah. And I've realized that. And it took so much of my energy. At a certain point, I was like, okay, I think the only solution is I take care of my inner child.
Yeah.
And I just let it go because there is no point in doing that.
That's right. Good insights. It gets exhausting after a while, you know. And then you also think, am I some perfected being who's never done anything to hurt anybody? No, probably not. So what have I done to hurt somebody that I didn't mean to do? Would I hope that that person would not pull me in by the ear and be like, you bad girl, you did that? Would I hope that they would say, maybe Jessica's having a bad day, or Joshi maybe she's sick, she's not at her best, she's exhausted, so she snapped or something. Would you expect them to, you hurt me, now can you also wipe my butt and give me some of my dinner? I mean, that's how it sounds when you're coming like an inner child. It's a little 2-year-old who's just like, because why is somebody else in charge of your feelings? I mean, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, but when you go and you tell someone else, these are my feelings, why are you doing that? Your feelings are for you. They're for you. Just like your hunger, just like your bowel urges. Those are all for you. They're not to, once you get in touch with them, then you can share the positive ones with other people. Why would you bring your negative feelings to other people? Just think about it. Why would you do that? I mean, how many people go to the bathroom and bring it to another person? Here, I did some poop today. Here, this is for you. That's what it's like when you dump your negative feelings on somebody. Why? It's just a lack of awareness. A lack of awareness of your inner child who needs your attention. When you take care of your inner child, then you can bring love, you can bring light, you can bring empathy, you can bring compassion, you can uplift others. That's why we're meant to be in relation, to uplift others. But we do the opposite. We come and dump our negative feelings on others and we basically use them as a tool to make us feel better. So that's the problem in human relations. But that's what we're talking about, so we can see it clearly and get out of it ourselves, you know. And once we get out of it, especially if there's a community of people, then it'll affect the other people. Because even if they come attacking, if we don't attack back and we're like, okay, I'm not going to engage in that. I hear you, thank you for sharing something, you don't be rude, and you don't analyze them to their face. Your ahankar is triggered, or that's your inner child, give me a bag of poop. I mean, they're not going to think, here, we think it's funny, okay? But if we do it to somebody who's not part of this, they're not interested in Vedic psychology, they're going to hate Vedic psychology even more, you know? So it's a tool for our introspection and for our perfection, but not to put it on others. You can tell Vedic psychology's really grabbed hold of a person if they become nicer. If they're nicer, if they become nicer, more compassionate, more loving, more supportive. Not if they can outsmart you and look, oh, that's your samskara. Oh, she's so triggered. That's her ankara. She's not using her booty. Oh, he's in tamas. So that's not That's for us to look at us, you know, and then clear that, just so we can clear it out, not so we feel bad or shameful or even angry, just to clear it so we can be light and then do what we want in this life, and especially as devotees, to serve, you know, without all that garbage on our shoulders. Anything else?
I have a question about jealousy. So we've been seeing that jealousy is a very common, we've all experienced it, and Martin's father is clearly very jealous of his son. I was wondering, to me it's quite surprising that the father is jealous of his son, because when you have kids, I mean, this is all speculation, but I imagine that when you have kids, you're one with that person. You're really identifying of, you know, he's my baby, he's my little darling. So I would like to understand more the root cause of why, how does it take that the dad ends up being so jealous to his son?
That's a good question. That is very common actually with parents. So the father becomes jealous of the son. At the beginning he's mine, right? Which means he's a good little robot, he does what I want, and he doesn't outshine me. Remember, the dad's the master, never outshine your master. So as soon as the son starts growing, and he does better than the dad, then he's not the son anymore. He's his competitor.
But some of the father, they have like, oh, I'm proud of you, son, because you did. It can be, you know, other stories where it's exactly the same story, and the dad will say, oh, I'm proud of you, son. You did great. You doubled the, how do you say, the
revenue return.
Yeah,
but it's not the exact same story. The difference is that who the father thinks, his ahankara, basically. You have to analyze the father's ahankara. So if the father thinks, my job is to double the revenue, because I'm the CEO and I've got to do it, and then my son does it, if he feels like the son is below him and basically, you know, supporting him, then he's like, yes, I'm proud of you, my son. Why? Because you made me look good. But if he feels like the son is better than him, like in some way, and if they're competing, you know, then he's going to be like, you don't make me look good, you make me look less than. So the son has to be like touching the father's feet and like, oh, yes, Papa, you're the best, and everything I learned from you, and I wouldn't even be able to do. He has to go on and on appeasing the ahankara, basically, to make the father feel like he's less than. But if he's, you know, a kind of like a more, the kind of guy who would double the revenue, that personality type is not going to be humble. That's the whole reason he can double the revenue. So the father's going to compete, you know. So you have to just check the ahankara of the parent and see where, and then you have to figure out what you would need to do to appease them to make them feel like they are actually your parent. That's why they need to be respected. And also you see where they stand, and then it is true that the father did create that son and did give him a lot of his good qualities. So, but the son's probably not recognizing that. He's too much in the mode of making money, and maybe he's giving speeches talking about how hard he worked. And you know, how Babaji always says people love to take credit for other people's work. Most likely he's not even acknowledging his father. He's probably saying he built the business and all that, or whatever. It's you know, the ahankara is uno. It's just him. I'm sure he's not giving credit to the father at all. So that's why you have to always analyze the ahankara of the parent and see how it's getting bruised, you know.
There's a question from Alex.
Okay.
You mentioned last time there are two ways to healthy deal with a jealous parent. First is boost their ahankara, and second is deflate self so that they feel bigger or better. Deflating self seems like a hard thing to do without internalizing, especially if that's the old previous samskara, poisonous samskara. Is that even a viable option to keep a smooth relationship?
Yeah, it depends on first of all, it's back to inner child work. So you have to nurture inner child, because if you have a wound that you're less than to whoever the person was that abused you, that's going to be very painful, because that means your inner child's believing it. So when you're saying these like things that make you less than the person you're trying to basically pump up, your inner child's like, that's not true. That's not true. I've been working on finding my voice and standing up for myself. That's like an unhinged inner child. So the inner child needs to be taken care of, and then you tell your inner child, now listen, you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I know Dad was abusive, but I need to keep my job. So I'm going to tell him what he wants to hear. Just give him his ahankara food. I don't believe it, but I don't want to be out in the street. I don't want to be working at McDonald's. We have a good job right now. So just don't, just cool down. I'm saying it because it's like a niti, it's like a trick, basically. And that's what you have to do in human relations sometimes, depending on your situation, and depending on if the person can't be authentic with you, then you don't be authentic with them, you know. But the inner child is always the missing part of this equation. It needs to be highly nurtured before you can do that. Okay? Keep reading? Okay. So where did we leave off? I think I was reviewing kind of from last week, right? Don't you wish your husband was rich like me? So remember how we ended on that? Okay. So he, I'm just wondering if the page flipped over. Yeah, it did flip over. That's why. Okay, sorry. So he said, I asked Martin if there's episodes, right, when he was in touch with any feelings other than his uncontrollable anger, and he had said, yeah, you bet I am. I'm really ashamed. So we talked about how that's a samskara. So Martin's father used the business to keep Martin feeling inadequate, which in turn enabled his father to feel better about himself. When Dad pushed the right buttons, Martin became a helpless child in grown-up clothing. That's the inner child shining through. It took some time, but Martin finally came to realize that he had to give up the hope that his father would change. See? That's what I'm saying. That's when the true healing begins, when you stop hoping other people will change. You just give it up. Martin is now working hard to change the way he deals with his father. That's the whole thing I've been harping on today, right? So even if you look at the little couple sentences before, Martin's father used the business to keep Martin feeling inadequate. Now, is it his choice to feel inadequate? The father's choice that the son's going to feel inadequate? Whose choice is it? It's Martin's. So he doesn't have to feel inadequate. He can feel amazing. He can be like, I'm making, $100,000 a year. Woo! Why is he feeling inadequate? Do you see how it's written like a victim? That my father's choosing to make me feel. He's not. Martin can choose how to feel about that. And it said, which in turn enabled his father to feel better about himself. That's fine. Let the father feel better. He's getting a big paycheck. Who cares? Obviously, the father needs to feel better, and he hasn't figured out how to nurture his inner child, so that's fine. And then it took some time, but Martin finally came to realize, okay, so now he has to work hard to change himself. The tyranny of the manipulator. There's another powerful form of control that, while more subtle and covert than direct control, is every bit as damaging. Manipulation. Manipulators get what they want without ever having to ask for it, without ever having to risk rejection by being open about their desires. All of us manipulate others to varying degrees. Few of us are confident enough to just ask for everything we want in this world, so we develop indirect ways of asking. We don't ask our spouse for a glass of wine. We ask if there's any bottle open. We don't ask our guests to leave at the end of the evening. We yawn. We don't ask an attractive stranger for their phone number. We engage in small talk. Children manipulate parents as much as parents do children. Now, I don't know what else she's going to say about that, but I have something to say about that. The children who are manipulating, they have to do that because the parents aren't attuning to them. If your parents are attuning to you, they really hear what you think, what you need, how you feel. Why would the child have to be manipulative? The child could then just say, can I have a chocolate? And the mother would say, yeah, of course, let's have dinner and you can have it. But if the parents play games and they're not direct and they themselves are lying or cheating or not telling the truth or doing something like that, the child learns very quickly, okay, I want the chocolate, so I'm going to steal that. Or I'm going to tell some lie to get that. So I hate it when people say that the children are manipulators because they're leaving the first half of the story out. The parents were not straight with them. So the child had to learn it's a defense mechanism. If you had parents who were clean with you and supportive and loving, why would you manipulate? But they blame the child, So any child, I remember I used to always, that was my population, my client population was all children. And any child that I ever saw, when the parents would, bring the kid in, they're manipulating, they're lying, they're cheating, I'm like, And how did that happen? Did they come out of the womb doing that? They're like, "Ah," and then they start lying? No, that's not how it goes. You condition them to do that. You train them to do that. And now you're blaming them. Look at my kid. The kid is 5. Why are you blaming a 5-year-old? You know? And it may not be you, it may be your spouse, it may be the caregiver, but somebody did that who's one of their core people in their life. Train them that it's not okay to be direct and ask for what you want and what you need. You're not going to get it. So that's how children learn to manipulate. And then they become adults who manipulate, and they're really good by then. They're super good at that. But the root is, if we learned how to parent properly, everybody would be, I'm not saying just being honest, we wouldn't do that either, but because that's hurtful. We would learn that, but we'd also be clean and clear and expect to have a normal conversation with someone and say, this is what I need, and I say yes. Well, let's talk it through, at the minimum, like authoritative parenting. The authoritative parent listens and says, okay, I hear that you want that. And sometimes they say, yes, you can have it. And if they say no, they explain why. You can't have it because if you have the chocolate now, it's going to ruin your dinner, or you'll get on a sugar high, but you can have it after dinner or something like that, So that would be, then why would the kid need to sneak around for the chocolate? It's a very basic case, but if you look at anybody who's manipulating in their adult life, who's lying, who's cheating, who's stealing, who's doing anything like that, it's because they had to survive that crazy childhood, And to decondition somebody from that is super hard, especially because they come to the therapist, they lie to the therapist too. So you don't even know. I don't even know. I believe the whole thing sometimes, And then all of a sudden, after 2 years, their partner comes in and I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And they're like, oh, whoops, or when they get called out like that, So that's why this group that we run, this conscious communication group, is so good, because you see everybody in action. Because you can present whatever you want to your therapist, and many people are coming just because they want their therapist to like them. They just want to be liked. They don't understand that it's that's not the point of therapy. They don't want to show their underbelly per se, their ugly side. They want the therapist to be their friend. They want their therapist to like them. Instead of saying, like, I've got this issue, like, I steal, or what, I don't know, I'm making it up, or I lie all the time, or nobody ever has said that to me. Nobody. So I don't know what's actually going on in their life. And sometimes they'll only come and they'll only talk about one particular issue, and they don't share their whole story. So you don't actually know the person. And then it's shocking when actually they're in a group setting and you're like, oh my God, I never saw that side of them, It's very helpful if a therapist runs a therapy group. That's how you can see the other sides of a client, and you can help them more holistically for all the stuff going on, But anyway, it's all back to those childhood first 7 years. Kids become expert at that. And they did that, lots of experiments on children, showing when they learn how to lie, They're quite young by the time they can do it. I think 3 or 4. And they completely lie, So it's also part of human nature. If you want to get the thing and you can't have it, If the parent says, don't take that chocolate, I'm going to set it right there. I'll be right back, but don't take it. And when you get back, you can have it, And they totally do it. If they're like, if they're younger, they do it. And then they just have it all over their face. And they're like, okay, I ate it. I'm sorry. But once they hit around 4, they lie. They're like, I didn't do it. It fell down. Or, no, Jimmy came and he took it. Or, it's so funny. But by that age, they've learned, So you think by the time you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, how good you must be at that. And if you have kids, little kids are good at lying. It's just something we learn. It's like, I want that. And if I can't have that, I'm going to have to work my way around to that, which means probably lie or maybe steal. But the thing is that if your parent is there and involved and engaged in your life, and they see that you steal, it's very common, little kids just take what they want. Then the father would say, it's not okay to steal. That's somebody else's thing, and if you want it, we have to buy it. We have to purchase that, and we don't have the money for that right now. But for your birthday or Christmas, something like that, then the child understands it's not okay to steal. We have to bring it back and give it back, something like that. And then you get a new samskara. Because if you're not managed, you'll just keep doing it, But that's why I'm saying part of it's just normal. To get what you want, you would lie or cheat or steal. But the parent's involved, and that's the father's role. Discipline, and catching you on those things. Anything else? Were you going to say something? Okay. Okay, so where were we? I should keep a little pen and mark. Okay, so I think it just flipped again. Here, we're on 55, right? Did I read the tyranny of a manipulator, and I read manipulators get what they want without ever having to ask for it, without ever having to risk rejection by being open about their desires? I read that, right? Okay, I forgot to say that was that sentence Babaji underlined when he read this book.
Which sentence?
Manipulators get, on the bottom of 55, under the tyranny of the manipulator, there's the first sentence, and then he underlined, manipulators get what they want without ever having to ask for it, without ever having to risk rejection by being open about their desires. So he must have thought that was an interesting nugget. Okay. And then at the bottom, so then it says, all of us manipulate others to varying degrees. Few of us are confident enough to just ask for everything we want in this world. So we develop these indirect ways of asking, right? So then we read about those funny things, the ways people do it. And then I stopped when we got to children manipulate parents as much as parents do children. Spouses, friends, and relatives all manipulate one another. Salesmen, they make a living out of manipulating. There's nothing inherently evil about it. In fact, it's a normal mode of human communication. But when it becomes a tool for consistent control, manipulation can be exceedingly destructive, especially in a parent-child relationship, because manipulative parents are so adept at hiding their true motives. Their children live in a world of confusion. They know they're being bad, but they can't figure out how. Why does she always have to help? One of the most common types of toxic manipulators is the helper. Instead of letting go, the helper creates situations to make him or herself needed in the adult child's life. This manipulation often comes packaged as well-meaning but unwanted assistance. Lee, 32, is an outgoing, freckled-faced, former top-seeded amateur tennis player who has been doing very well as a tennis pro at a country club. Despite an active social life, professional recognition, and a good job, she was going into regular periods of deep depression. Her relationship with her mother quickly dominated our first session together. I've worked very hard to get where I am, but my mother doesn't think I can tie my own shoes. Her whole life is wrapped up in me, and it's gotten much worse since my dad died. She just doesn't let up. She's always bringing food over to my apartment because she doesn't think I eat well enough. Sometimes I come back to my place and find that she's come in and cleaned it, quote unquote, as a favor. She even rearranged my clothes and my furniture. I asked Lee if she'd ever simply asked her mother to stop doing these things. What do you think the answer is? Do you think they just talk it out? And she's like, Mom, please stop doing it. And the mom's like, oh, honey, I'm sorry. I'll stop doing these things. Do you think it goes like that? No. Lee asked the mom all the time to stop doing it. And the mom, what does she do? She just wells up with tears and she cries. What's wrong with a mother who helps a daughter that she loves? Last month, I was invited to play a tournament in San Francisco. My mother went on and on about how far it was and how I couldn't possibly drive the whole way by myself. So she volunteered to come with me. When I told her she really didn't have to, she acted like I was trying to trick her out of a free vacation. So I said, okay. I had really been looking forward to the time alone, but what could I say? Helper. As Lee and I worked together in therapy, she began to see how much her feelings of competence had been undermined by her mother. But whenever Lee tried to express her frustration, she was overwhelmed by guilt because her mother appeared to be so loving and so caring. Lee became increasingly angry at her mother, and since she couldn't let it out, she had to hold it in. Eventually, it found an outlet as depression. So this is a really common, like this therapist said, that it's a very common thing, it looks like you're being such a nice person, you're just helping out, and you're giving food or cleaning the house or something like that, you're being so helpful. But actually, what if the other person doesn't want it and they're saying, no, thank you, and you keep doing it, then why are you doing it? So why would she be doing that? Why would the mother be doing that? If her daughter's saying, I don't want this, I don't want you to cook for me, I don't want you to clean for me, please stop it. And the mother's like compulsively going in and cooking and cleaning, right? What do you think's driving the mother to do that? Have an idea, Ladali? Or Vera, you going to say?
Just to feel that she is important and she is needed.
Yep.
Simple.
Yep. Yeah, because what would it be like if her daughter didn't need her? If her daughter didn't need the food or the cleaning or anything, how would the mother feel?
Useless.
Redundant, useless. Yeah? Did you want to add something, Ladali? Thank you, Vera.
Because she has no life herself.
Yeah.
She feels empty.
Yeah.
She doesn't know who she is, what
Yeah.
she likes. She doesn't have her own life.
Yeah.
That's why she's so focused on her daughter's life.
That's a very good insight. And very often you'll hear people say, our relationship is not going very well with me and my partner, but we're going to have a baby and it's going to be a whole new fresh start, a whole new chapter. And when someone's thinking like that, so then what happens is they're not really happy. They haven't really figured out what their thing in life is that makes them happy. So now what makes them happy? That kid. And I'm going to focus on that kid for 20 years, you know. And then when the kid's like, I'm fine now, I'm moving on, the parent's like, wait, what? No, after all I did for you, you can't leave me like that. I've made you my whole life. I've given you my whole life. I've been doing everything for you. So that's when you realize it was really more for the mother than the mother had the kid for herself because she wasn't happy, you know? And that's how these situations happen. Good insight. Yep. Huh? Okay. Kamala?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Hello. So I was thinking that the mother doesn't feel, she feels empty and meaningless without the daughter.
Yeah.
So she used the daughter to feel that she has a meaning in her life.
Yes.
Using the daughter for herself.
Yep, that's how it goes. That's right. And then the daughter feels guilty, like so bad if she says no, you know. Like, after all my mom's done for me. And the mom will say it. After all I've done for you, how could you do this? I'm just trying to help. You don't want food? And then she also questioned her, right? She made her like lose confidence in herself, that she couldn't travel on her own and things like that. She was invited to play in this tennis tournament, and her mom was going on and on. You can't possibly drive that whole way all by yourself. So she's making the daughter not feel very self-sufficient either. You know? Because she needs the daughter to be needy. She needs the daughter to need her. They also call that enmeshment, right? Enmeshment. When you and your mother are like that, or whatever, you and another person are like that. So you can't, you know, you're always thinking about the other person, and you're always worried, what would I do? And you always have to do everything together, be on the same page together. That's not normal. It's normal to have different opinions. You're two different people. It's not normal to fight. To like really, you know, get in. You can have different opinions respectfully, and have different things you do in life, you know. But oftentimes, especially in romantic relationships, it's like we're one. We're just one unit, and it's like no. It's healthy to be two separate people with your own set of things that you like to do, and then you come to when you're full yourself, you know. Then it's easier to come together and enjoy something even better together. But very often it's two people who are not feeling so good on their own. But then together they feel so good. So then they don't know how to be their own unit. And it happens oftentimes with people whose mother already did that to them, or father already did that to them. So then they just replicate it, you know, in the adult romantic relationship. Same thing. Good, Kamala. Do you want to say something, Jonathan?
Yes, a question. What would be the healthy way to change that situation? Because the daughter said, "Mom, I don't need your help," but the mom is completely doesn't really understand that and keeps doing that. And then the daughter feels guilty to say no. So, okay, Mom, come with me, you know. So it's a cycle that keeps going on and on. How to break it, since the mother cannot really understand I don't need your help, please leave me alone, or something like that. That doesn't work. So what thing could work?
The same thing, all roads lead back to the inner child.
Yeah.
And telling her, sweetheart, I know you feel guilty because when you were 5, you had to do it that way all the way till now. But you can say no. In fact, you're a little girl, you don't have to say no. I'm your mother, I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say it with a smile on my face and say, thank you so much for your offer. No thanks, I can drive on my own, I'll be fine.
Yeah, still that.
Yeah, and I would change the locks on my doors so she can't come in and just clean it. And with the food, it's like, don't go around her. I mean, you don't have, there's ways to do it that is clear. But I wouldn't talk about it anymore. Yeah. 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 And when you say it, when you try to put a boundary, people get worse. I mean, if they're used to doing it one way, they get worse. Their behavior gets worse. So if you say, no, I can do it on my own, or no, don't bring the food anymore, or something, then she's going to probably try to bring it more. Or she'll start crying. But then you have to say, I'm sorry, you're feeling sad. I'll talk to you later. It's not your job to now pacify her and make her all better or take the food anyway. Because if you do it, you're just telling her, it's okay, my no means yes. My no means yes. So she's just not going to take you seriously. But it's the inner child who has to get over, you have to work with the inner child to get over the guilt, the terrible guilt, right? That how could I do this to her? And some mothers will, threaten to hurt themselves, even if they're, or whatever. They'll make a lot of threats, and they may do it, but it's not your job to take care of them. Let's see if we can finish this. Where were we? This page. So she wells up with tears. See, Janava on page 57, the mother wells up with tears. And then you see her rationalization. What's wrong with a mother who just wants to help the daughter that she loves? I mean, what could you say to that? What would you say to that if the mother said that? In a group question, what would you say? If you told her, what was this, that she didn't want the mom to do these things, right? She went in, not only did she clean it, she rearranged the furniture. Oh my God. Okay, so what would you say to the mother if her response was that? Go ahead, Vilas.
I would say help means that I need something and then you're providing it.
Sorry. Help means what?
Help means that I need something and you're providing it, but I don't need the thing you're doing, right? Whether it's the furniture or whatever, so therefore it's not help.
Okay, so you'd try to educate her. And what would be the goal of that?
So I would, okay, so this is, okay.
Educate, your goal would be to try to change her, which is a smooth way of doing it.
Okay.
So probably, what would she say back to that? Oh, thank you so much. I didn't realize that's what help meant. Okay, so I'll stop helping? I mean, hell no.
Okay, yeah, so my point...
No, let's give Mohini a shot.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mohini. What would you say if she said...
I would say there is nothing wrong in that you want to help me. Yeah, a daughter who she loves, but I don't need the help.
Okay, so you tell her what you've been telling her all along. Same thing.
Yeah, I'd say I don't feel well if someone is...
Okay.
I want to make my things myself.
But that's what she's been saying all along. So what's different about what you're saying?
What?
That's what she's been saying all along. Like a broken record and her mom's not changing. So what are you saying that's different?
I say I need my space. I cannot deal with that.
Okay, and she'd be like, oh my God, thank you, I didn't realize you need your space. I'm not sure if she'd go for that. Janava, you had an idea? Let's look at exactly what the mom said. She said, first of all, she's crying. She's welling up and crying, and that's going to make you feel bad, right? And guilty if your mom's crying because she's trying to do this nice, loving thing. And then she says, what's wrong with a mother who helps a daughter that she loves? And she's in tears. What would you say?
So first of all, I will be so angry because I hate when people organize my stuff. So I will definitely go in another room and take care of my inner child and try to, be more calm about it because I think I will be really mad at her.
Yeah.
And I will just put boundaries according to what you said. There is no point in just saying, Mom, I don't need your help.
Yeah.
That will be pointless. Yeah. And just to educate her will not work. So I would just basically just do nothing and wait for her to go and change my luck, like you said.
Yeah.
Okay,
so you wouldn't say anything to her. You would go in your room, nurture inner child.
Yeah.
Because you're too angry to even say anything.
Yeah.
And then just wait, maybe she'll go, and then you go change your lock.
Because I don't know what I can say to her. If I say thank you, she will do it again. maybe I can, say, oh, thank you, Mom, but then she will be happy, she will do it again. So I don't think it's...
Okay, but why is she crying? Where is that coming from? Do adults cry like that?
No.
Okay, so
she
who's crying?
The mother as her inner child.
3-year-old. Her 3-year-old inner child is crying.
Yeah.
So if you know how to nurture your own inner child and you notice somebody else's inner child is upset, could you say something compassionate? If you imagine you weren't angry, you could be like, okay, I'm pissed, but let me just say something nice. Not that you want to enable the behavior, but it's a 3-year-old, maybe she doesn't even know she has an inner child who's crying.
I can probably say, Mom, I appreciate your help. You wanted to do something and you thought that would be pleasing to me, so you arrange everything well, and you take so much of your time to do that, so you're very caring and very generous.
But then don't you feel like you're betraying yourself? The inner child will be having a tantrum.
Exactly.
So you want to say something nice, that's the right idea, but you don't want to give her the wrong idea, because guess what? She'll be organizing again the next day.
That's
if
right.
you organize things well. So I wouldn't get caught up with the details. I would get caught up with the mood, her mood. So she's crying because why? Look what she said. Oftentimes you just go, she said, what's wrong with a mother who helps a daughter she loves? So she sees herself as loving her daughter. So I would just say something like,
of course you love me, and I feel your love.
I can see it so much. You do so much for me, and you love me so much. And I'm really touched by your love. Most mothers don't love like that. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, thank you so much.
But then she will do it again, no?
Well, she's not going to do it right then. But you have to acknowledge. Otherwise, the silent treatment, she's going to get pissed. She's going to bring up a whole thing. So acknowledge that you do love me so much. It's just that she doesn't show it in the way you want. But that's not up for debate.
Yeah.
So go with the mood of the person. She's crying because she's triggered, because she feels hurt by you, because you didn't accept her love. The way she shows the love is different than how you want to receive it. But that we're not going to change. So acknowledge the good part. You love me so much, and you're showing me in so many ways, Mom. Thank you so much. It's true. And I'm sorry I made you cry.
But it was a very important detail, very small, but she was angry. There was a very important detail. You said that you would be mad, right, at your mom. And then to say it would be very difficult to control your anger. So first of all, you have to somehow deal with it yourself, right? So actually, I'm telling because I had the situation with my husband's aunt. So exactly. Things rearranged. What she doesn't like, she would throw away my clothes, after my trip.
Oh my God.
I didn't know how to deal. I mean, I tried to be calm, sometimes I would say, but not my mom.
Yeah.
So when you have some very close relationship, I'm afraid it would be even worse.
It would be.
Because it's like attachment, anger, so it's like a bouquet of emotions. So I couldn't deal. Actually, she left the world. But I didn't solve this situation, so I'm very interested what you would suggest.
Your inner child is waiting for you to nurture her. It's not about your aunt. That's why I'm saying, yes, if you're angry, you'd have to, but you have to now, nobody's triggered, nobody's aunt or whatever is triggering them right here in this moment. We're calm and we're analyzing, and I'm basically helping you get ideas to put in your adult mind, your buddhi, to think, okay, because the whole idea of this Vedic psychology is that you increase your level of awareness, which is your level of your intelligence, your buddhi. Then that's the thing that controls the outrageous inner child when she's having a tantrum. And so you have to start, but you can't do it only when you're triggered. It never works that way. It's like I've never ridden a bicycle before, and now I have to go bike for 25 miles. It can't do it. So every day you have to, first of all, learn who your inner child is and what her wounds are, how to work with her. And then when she's triggered, you're already, you know how to deal with her, because you're dealing with her every day, her feelings, And then when something happens, we're putting the food into the buddhi, and right, I should say something kind and compassionate, but don't agree to the behavior she did. You say something kind and compassionate about her heart, which she does have a good heart. That's the best way she knows how to show it, because her own inner child is triggered, and she doesn't really understand who she is. That's why she's doing it. But you don't have to put up with it, you just say something very kind, acknowledging her love, and then it's very tough. But that's why I'm saying we're talking about the final exam, is that, right? Because it's your own mother, just say. That's the final exam. But all the semester long, every day, hours of studying to get to the final exam has to happen on your own watch. Then you can do it, And maybe not perfectly the first time, but every day you're working with your inner child, even when they're not triggered. You're sitting there having breakfast saying, how are you doing? Oh, you're a little tired today. Okay. You get to know your inner child because they need to grow up. They will stay arrested in time of those original attachment wounds at age 1 until you start growing your inner child up by making that relationship and they start becoming mature. Then there is no more inner child. Then they've integrated into you and you're an adult. 1. Okay, one more question and then we'll go to the next. No, go ahead.
It's not a question.
Oh.
I wanted to thank you because I think the insight of being aware of how the person is reacting and actually knowing that it's her inner child and say there's only one thing that will work is to give her love and attention for her to feel seen and loved. And that is really wonderful because it's really difficult to imagine and to do. Yeah. But I think it's really, if I'm able to do that, I think that would be perfect in life.
Because we get caught up on people's behaviors and their words, and we're missing the boat completely. What's driving the reason why CBT is so powerful, cognitive behavioral therapy, is it's the thoughts, the feelings, and behaviors. But, so you can change those things when you understand how they work together. But the feelings are driving all that. So that's why oftentimes in therapy too, I'm not that caught up in whatever the story is. Or whatever you're speaking, or as soon as I hear a feeling, that's why I'm always trying to peck away and get to the feeling. Once I'm in the feeling, I'm in the back door into what actually really matters to you. So same thing, when you're talking to somebody, they may not never say their feeling, but you can imagine how you would feel. I would feel so hurt if my daughter didn't see that I loved her. That's all.